who's streaming this?
I think Kevin started the stream.
Okay,
Yeah, no,
awesome.
it's me. Yep.
I also believe, do I have to enable the live transcript so the captions show under, or is that a feature that's on YouTube?
You do. I totally forgot to do that. Go ahead and click more. And then, or actually, I think it's closed captions. And then enable third-party closed captions.
Cool. So let me see if, okay, it's working. Nice.
Hey, Nick.
Yes.
Do you think you'd be able to send me the live copy of the agenda?
Yeah, it's shared with you.
Oh, it is. Oh, so it's in the drive.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, it's 6:30. I'm gonna wait a minute or two to let some other folks join because I don't see everyone, and then we'll go ahead and get started.
Hello, Nick.
Is the Zoom code the same as the one that's always on the website?
Yeah.
Okay.
And as far as the folks in the chambers, are the president and vice president there? So I don't have to worry about them signing in on Zoom.
Rob's here.
Yeah, I'm here. Elijah's in urgent care right now.
Okay, so with that, I guess I'll go ahead and get started. First of all, do we have a clerk to call the roll when the time comes, or because if not, we'll have to have someone from legislative cabinet do that.
I don't even have the attendance sheet.
Neither do I.
Okay. Am I in charge of that? I'm not too sure if I am. Let me see if, well, I don't think there's anything I could do about that right now.
But I feel like you could use the members that get Nick's emails. So they to current members. You could use that as the attendance sheet.
Yeah, and since you're in that email, just look to who it's sent to as well.
Point of information, can I just get a head count of who here is from exec, just so I can get an idea of who's not here?
I'm gonna work on the attendance sheet right now. Just give me a sec.
That's good.
Okay, I guess while you're doing that, I could start everything else.
I was going to ask, should we put our names in the chat?
That might work.
And really quick, I think I did find the attendance sheet on my end, and so I can clerk that at the beginning and hand it off to whoever else needs that. Share it around afterwards.
Thank you, Kevin.
Yeah, I think that'll probably be me after, since we don't have a clerk yet.
And President Long, are you good with the exec that's here before we go ahead and get started?
Like 1 minute.
Okay.
We could swear people in while he's finishing his own attendance. The 2 new senators. Mr. Speaker,
Sorry, what was that, Chair Athey?
we could swear in the 2 new senators while he's working.
Okay.
Don't we have the call to order, the pledge first, plus the land acknowledgement first before that though?
Yeah. And this isn't a big deal. I don't believe there's anyone from the judicial branch, but I could give the oath of office. Oh, there is someone there. Okay, good. I guess I'll start and call to order. So I'll call the first emergency session of the 52nd Senate to order. If you're willing and able, please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now I'll go ahead and read the land acknowledgement. Colorado State University acknowledges with respect that the land we are on today is their traditional and ancestral homelands of the Arapaho, Cheyenne, and Ute nations and peoples. This is also a site of trade, gathering, and healing for numerous other native tribes. We recognize the indigenous peoples as original stewards of this land and all the relatives within it. As these words of acknowledgement are spoken and heard, the ties nations have to their traditional homelands are renewed and reaffirmed. CSU is founded as a land grant institution, and we accept that our mission must encompass access to education and inclusion, and significantly that our founding came at a dire cost to Native nations and peoples whose land this university was built upon. This acknowledgement is the education and inclusion we must practice in recognizing our institutional history, responsibility, and commitment. And now we'll move into the swearing in of senators and associates. So if we could have the Chief Justice administer the oath of office.
Perfect. Is everyone ready?
You need to call down who they are.
So I believe who I have now is Rory Lowe and Alicia Barron. Are there any other new members that need to be sworn in that I need to be made aware of? And yes, Kevin, I'll get that to you. Okay, so seeing none, I assume Chief Justice, you're good to go in swearing in the new Senate members.
I state your name.
Could both of you unmute?
Yeah, I think they're just unaware of what's happening.
Got it. I'm back.
I'm unmuted as well.
Unmute again.
I state your name.
I, Rory Lowe,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
and uphold
to
to uphold
the rules and regulations
the rules and regulations
enforced by the Constitution
enforced by the Constitution
of the Associated Students of Colorado State University,
of the Associated Students of Colorado State University,
will rightfully perform,
could you repeat that?
will rightfully perform
I'm sorry, I'm having trouble hearing you. Could you say that one more time?
and will rightfully perform
And will rightfully perform
the duties of my office
the duties of my office
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
Chief Justice, could you repeat the oath so that way Alicia Barron can also be sworn in? I don't think she was too aware of what was happening, and I think it would have conflicted over Zoom anyway.
No problem. Are we ready?
Yes.
I state your name.
I, Alicia Barron,
Solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
and uphold
that I will uphold
the rules and regulations
sorry, could you repeat that again?
the rules and regulations
The rule or regulations
enforced by the Constitution
led by the Constitution
of the Associated Students of Colorado State University,
of the Associated Students of Colorado State University,
and will rightfully perform
and will rightfully perform
the duties of my office
the duties of my office
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
All righty, we will now move into the beginning roll call. And while that's happening, Parliamentarian Burge, I believe I made you the co-host. So if you could share the agenda, because the next thing we'll move in is the consent agenda. Cool.
Are we ready to call the roll?
Yes, please. Thank you.
Senator Abdunabi. Chair Athey. Officer Bukhari. Parliamentarian Burge.
Present.
Speaker Pro Tempore Caracero Perez.
Present.
Speaker of the Senate DeSalvo.
Here.
Senator Geiser. Senator Gibrew.
Present.
Senator Morgan. Senator Nguyen.
Present.
Senator Pereira. Senator Ritter. Senator Sanchez. Senator Oker.
Present.
Senator Reese. Senator Rencher. Senator Trout. Senator Melka. Senator Lowe.
Here.
Senator Barron.
Present.
May we have our roll?
Thank you, Mr. Clark. And now we'll move into our consent agenda. Is there any dissent to the agenda? Seeing none, the agenda is approved. Now we'll move into our gallery input. Is there anyone from the gallery who wishes to speak? Seeing and hearing none, we'll move into our executive reports. Is there anyone from the executive branch who wishes to report?
He's coming to the front, Mr. Speaker.
Sorry, what was that, Chair Athey?
Said he's walking to the front.
Okay, cool. President Long.
Hello, Senate. Hello, everyone. So good to see everyone both in the chambers and on Zoom. I'll keep it brief. Not a whole lot going on. Last week, Speaker DeSalvo and Vice President Sandoval met Blanche Hughes. Just got an introduction there for the administration, kind of expectations of what we expect from them and what they expect from us, just so that we can build that relationship with them, continue that relationship with administration. Tomorrow's day at the Capitol, starting at 9 or 10 o'clock in the morning, I believe. We'll be down at the Capitol. If you have any questions, you can reach out to President Dixon or me. And then exec cabinet, if you haven't already, please fill out the new hire and I-9 forms. It's important that you fill these out so that way we can be paid on time and as soon as possible. And then also, if you have any questions on that or any trouble with that, you can reach out to me, Hayden, Elijah, or one of the advisors. One thing I wanted to mention, I did a count of how many senators were here and how many are in like this space. I think it's around 15 to 20. Raise your hand if you think that's a good representation of our school. Yeah, I didn't think so. I think it's a little pitiful, if I'm going to be honest. And I think one of the biggest goals that I'd like to see from all branches, everyone in ASCSU, is to open up a little bit more. I'm going to challenge myself a bit, especially at orientation or just seeing as random strangers, just like asking. It's a little uncomfortable to say, "Hey, do you know what ASCSU is?" I'll bet you 9 times out of 10 they'll say no. And I think we got to do something, because when we have 6% turnout in our elections, it shows us something's wrong. And by the time the fall comes, I'd love to see all these seats filled. And yeah, I really would like to see that. I'd like to see that for our organization, for the general well-being of ASCSU, for the future of this organization. I truly do believe in this organization, and I believe that if we don't do something about it, we will continue to be seen as a joke, and something has to be done about it. So I challenge everyone, whether you're being ratified tonight, whether you're a senator, or whether you're in judicial or front desk, just reach out to someone this summer, someone not in your friend group, preferably. I think that's another problem, is that we only talk to our friends in this organization. We only recruit our friends in this organization. It leads to just cliques. It leads to just us talking amongst our friends. And that's just more of the same, in my opinion. And I really want to see stuff done differently around here. So yeah, that's a little bit of what I have. Not the best news, or not the best things to say here, but I'm really looking forward to this next year. I really hope, and I really do think that we can do a lot of great things for ASCSU as a body. And yeah, Mr. Speaker, I yield. And I believe I'm the only person reporting for exec tonight. So that's it.
Thank you, President Long. Is there anyone from the judicial branch that wishes to report at this time?
Yeah, I'll keep mine pretty brief. This week's a pretty relaxed week in the judicial branch. Is working along with front desk and the advisors to prep the handshake applications to get those posted by next week. So I really encourage you guys to reach out to your friends, professors, mentors, anyone in this space, in this community, that can really provide us with great associate justices and maybe a deputy justice also. And with that, Speaker, I yield.
Thank you, Chief Justice Zacharias. We'll now move into confidence business, beginning with the ratification of executive cabinet. President Long, if you'd like to come up and introduce executive cabinet. I'd also entertain a motion to put all of the executive cabinet members on a slate. As far as for the voting period, something similar to what we did last time, where questioning may be different, but the voting would be on a slate just to make that easier.
I would like to make a motion for the exec members to be presented and voted on a slate, not questioned on a slate.
Is there any dissent to that motion?
Point of order, do you want it to be unanimous consent? Because otherwise they did a second, not dissent.
I motion for unanimous consent.
There we go. Thank you.
So is there any dissent to that motion after that clarification? Seeing none, the executive cabinet, the prospective executive cabinet will be put on a slate. That's for everything, meaning that they will be questioned on a slate and they will be voted on a slate. President Long, if you'd like to begin with the first nominee.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Since there's only one person being proposed tonight in person, we'll start with that person. Colin Hamlin. In the interviews, he really first of all, I should say what position. Deputy Director of Graphic Design. In the interview, he really showed his passion and drive for graphic design. He showed a book of a lot of art in it, a lot of art design on a computer. It really made him stand out during the whole process. He's an intern for the marketing department under the Christian Dixon administration, and we'd love to have him brought onto our cabinet. Yeah, Colin, if you have anything to add, anything you'd like to share, the floor is yours.
Oh, it's already going. Okay, cool. Hi, my name is Colin Hamlin. I think this is the camera, right? Yeah. Hello, my name is Colin Hamlin. Mr. Long just put it pretty well. I'm the intern here, or was during the Christian administration here, and doing some work around, and I'd love to continue with the whole thing. So yeah, thank you all, and hope you have a great day.
Thank you. And since these candidates were put on a slate, then we'll go to the next candidate, President Long.
All right, next we have Omar Soliman. During an interview, he's being ratified for the Deputy Director of Sustainability. He is a computer science major here, and I just thought during the interview, this guy's really brought a lot of experience, a lot of different experiences, and I was like, wow, where do we put this guy? Because he's just good at so much. He has a background in banking and the finance world, a graphic design background, a charity background, and I just thought, wow, this guy's a really quick learner. He would probably thrive in literally any area we put him, and we just thought that it would be best suited for the Director of Sustainability. We'd like to see a lot of growth in that area, a lot of drive, and we believe that Omar is that person. So yeah, Omar, the floor is yours. We'd love to hear what you have to say.
Hi, everyone. I'm Omar Solomon. I would like to first thank the director for his words, and I honestly believe that this is one of the most one of the biggest experience I can get in my life, because this is important to me. Back in school, I've worked on projects to improve my school, but I think now on a scale of a university, it'll be a lot bigger, and I am honestly honored to be here among you guys. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Omar. And just point of information. Oh wait, point of information. Colin Hamlin is applying for Deputy Director of Graphic Design on Multimedia. All right, thank you very much. Next, we have David Wise. David Wise is a psychology major and a finance major. He is applying to be the Deputy Director of Finance. During the interview, David expressed his interests in finance, and he's also involved in the Alternative Transportation Fee Advisory Board, which basically helps allocate student funding towards construction contracts and like infrastructure projects here on campus that use student fee dollars. He was recently voted on as the vice chair of the organization, and we believe that he would be a brilliant steward of our student fees. And yeah, we really trust him. We think we could trust him in this, and we'd love to see him brought on. So yeah, David, if you want to share anything, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Rob. I just want to thank you guys for the chance to be here today. And I think Rob really nailed it down with my time on AppFab. Has taught me a lot about managing student fee dollars, and I'd love to just continue that on a much broader scale and help out this community as much as possible. Thank you, guys.
And personal privilege, before you move on, can we just set the standard of let's not use the term you guys because it's uninclusive? Thank you.
I apologize. Yes, of course.
I apologize for that.
All right. If that's all. Next, we have Jorge Garcia. He is currently a finance major here at CSU. During the interview, he expressed his interest in law and okay. Sorry about that. He had an interest in law and had a lot of involvement in El Centro. And yeah, he was just really passionate about the Deputy Director of State Law and Policy. And yeah, we'd really love to have him brought on. And yeah, Jorge, the floor is yours whenever you want to talk, or if you want to share anything else.
Yep. Thank you, Rob. You really nailed it. I've been working on getting the CSU community involved, and this would be a chance for not only to El Centro to get involved, but like overall like clubs and the CSU community to be involved. So I thank everyone for this opportunity.
All right, thank you, Jorge. Next, we have Kylie Weiss. She's applying to be the Deputy Director of Basic Needs here, and she's currently a neuroscience major. During the interview, she just shared a lot of her work while being a Deputy Director of Basic Needs. We saw she expressed a lot of examples during her time in the Christian Dixon administration, and we'd love to have that work continue on into our administration. So that's why we chose her. That's why we want to bring her on. And yeah, Kylie, if you have anything to add, the floor is yours.
Hi, everyone. As Rob mentioned, I served as the Deputy Director of Health this past year, and that has just been an incredible opportunity to advocate for equality in healthcare. I've gotten to work closely with many professionals at the CSU Health Network. I worked alongside Alejandra to create a marketing video for the CSU Health Network in which we presented more specifically resources for historically marginalized students on our campus. I also am very passionate about the Body Project, where we brought out a trainer who mentored me and several others to become peer leaders for the Body Project, which is a body positivity-based workshop, which I'm excited to continue this year. I also serve on the mental health subcommittee of the Freshman Retention Committee, and that has been an incredible opportunity to be the student voice for mental health around campus. And we've had an idea circulating about potentially creating a mandatory mental health class for students here at CSU. Since my role has had a bit of a title shift. Should I be ratified, I would also love to work with Rams Against Hunger to spread education about food insecurity and work alongside Michael Buttram this year. So very excited about this role.
All right, thank you, Kylie. Next, we have Ted Chasson. He's currently, he's applying to be the business and community liaison, and is majoring in electrical engineering. This past year, he was involved in the front desk staff, and he's also, in preparing for this role, he's also been working closely with Karthik, the current, or the business and community liaison under Christian Dixon. He's attended a couple of the Chamber of Commerce events, and yeah, we just think he has a lot of passion in this role, a lot of willingness to learn for this role. We'd like to see him brought on for our administration. So Ted, if you have anything to add, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thanks, Rob. Yeah, so I am really excited if and when to be brought on to the business and community liaison role. As Rob said, I've been working closely with Karthik. I already went to red carpet committee meeting where I got to know some small businesses and the Chamber of Commerce, just getting to know what it's all about, just connecting with those businesses and learning about how we can help students here just get connected with not only job opportunities, but involvement such as dance marathons for philanthropy events, or just engagement of getting students enrolled in CSU for helping them out for just filling out FAFSA, and there's businesses that are just trying to help out high school students to get into college. So it's really a wide role that I'm really excited to do. I think I can make a lot of good impact. I'm already loving some of the clients, not clients, but businesses that I've been working with. I don't know, I just feel like I'm really excited for this opportunity. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Ted. Next, we have Akil Paniti. I apologize if I'm mispronouncing that. He is applying to be the Deputy Director of International Affairs, currently mastering in computer science. And during the interview, he expressed his involvement in the international affairs community. And I did not do this interview, but Elijah spoke highly of his ability to interact with the international students, provide them with a safe community. And yeah, we really, I trust her. I really think that this would be a brilliant addition to the cabinet. And yeah, Akil, if you have anything to add, the floor is yours.
Absolutely. Hello, everybody. I am Akhil Paniti, and over the previous past year at CSU, I have been serving as the Vice President and Director of Finance of the Indian Students Association, along with serving as the President of the Electrical and Computer Engineering Graduate Students Association. And apart from these, I have also, been working closely with the Office of International Programs, with the Executive, Director, Assistant Director, and the Vice Provost of the Office of International Programs, in helping international students transition into CSU. And also, yeah, I plan on, being the all-inclusive face for the international and domestic students at CSU, and enhance the outreach and advocacy for and on behalf of them at CSU through ASCSU. So yes, thank you so much for this opportunity.
Perfect, thank you, Akil. Next, we have Olivia Cardenas. She's currently applying to be the Director of Academics and currently majoring in sports and exercise science. Her experience here at CSU, she is a transfer student, and in her previous experience, she was a diversity peer specialist. I also did not conduct this interview. This was Elijah Sandoval, or rather Vice President Sandoval. But she spoke highly of her during the interview. She expressed a lot from the heart, very genuine, and I do trust Elijah's opinion. So I think this would be a brilliant addition to our cabinet. And yeah, we'd love to have her brought on as Director of Finance. So Olivia, the floor is yours if you have anything else to add.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. To be honest, I think education is key. I'm very passionate. As Robert said, and as I spoke with Elijah, I really enjoy seeing people succeed, especially in academics. I know that things can be hard depending on your journey, like how I transitioned from a very small community college and then going into this big university during a very difficult time. I would really like to make a difference in making sure that people feel that they do belong here on campus. That's one of my main goals, as well as making sure that everyone is successful. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Olivia. And last but not least, we have Alejandra Casana Soner. I apologize if I mispronounced that. She is currently applying to be the Deputy Director of Multimedia. She was also the Director of Health underneath the Christian Dixon administration. And once again, Elijah conducted this interview. But I've heard stories of Alejandra's work around the office, and during the interview, Elijah only had nice things to say about her. Supposedly in the interview, she mentioned that she had a lot of social media experience. I think it was around 4 social media accounts she managed for various entities and people. We think she would, combined with her work as Director of Health and her experience in social media, she would be a brilliant addition to our cabinet. So Alejandra, if you want to add anything else, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you so much for that introduction. I'm just super excited to be continuing with ASCSU, especially in a new role. Last year, I served as the Director of Health, and I realized that a lot of the work that I was doing was surrounding like marketing of resources of the health network, and just like letting students know what was available to them. So I'm super excited and passionate to potentially step into the role of Deputy Director of Multimedia. So thank you so much.
All right, thank you. And I believe that concludes ratifications. Is there anyone that I missed that I'm supposed to introduce? Okay. Mr. Speaker, I believe that concludes introductions. I think we can move into Q&A now.
Yep. Thank you, President Long. We'll now open up 10 minutes of Q&A for these candidates, starting with the first raise placard or thumbs up on Zoom.
Sort of order, Mr. Speaker. The 10 minutes is usually for one candidate, and 10 minutes seems like a very short amount of time to do how many candidates we have here.
So just to be clear, when we put all of these candidates on the slate, would the 10-minute period be for just individual candidates or for all candidates? How much time would be allotted since they're now on the slate?
That's up to your jurisdiction, Mr. Speaker, because there isn't anything specified. The 10 minutes is traditionally for one person. I have seen it be, well, we have 9 candidates, and that's 10 minutes per person. That's 90 minutes. It's up to you on what you want to do there.
Okay. So with that, I will open up, I guess I would say 30 minutes of Q&A. And if we need time beyond that, then I guess we'll cross that bridge when we get there. So now I'll open up 30 minutes of Q&A, starting with the first raised placard. Chair Athey, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I have quite a few questions. Before I start, will we just like go down the line of everyone answers one question, each question that's directed to everyone? What's the plan?
You may do that, Chair Athey. I think that makes the most sense, to just go down the line. If you have the same question for everyone, that's probably the most efficient way of doing it, just going down the line. Or you could start from the bottom up. I really have no preference. It can be up to you to decide that.
Well, okay, so I have a bunch of questions for everyone, and then I have some individual questions. So I'll just start with the questions for everyone first. How do you plan to uphold the university and ASCSU initiatives of diversity, equity, and inclusion? We'll start with Colin first, and then we'll go through everyone on Zoom.
Oh, nice, it's coming through. Can you repeat the question?
How do you plan to uphold the university and ASCSU initiatives of diversity, equity, and inclusion?
Well, as doing graphic design, I think one of the big things I can do is sort of reflect that in the work I do, and see how well I can work with sort of nonverbal visual communication to help sort of promote those ideas.
Thank you. Okay, next person in line. I don't have any kind of order for all of you on Zoom. There's a lot of you. I'll name someone.
Amar, I believe that would be you, if you're comfortable.
So I plan on upholding the diversity through basically inquiring on the general sorry, 1 second. I'm sorry, this is just something. 1 second. All right, I'm really sorry about that. I had a problem with like where I'm sitting. All right, so I was saying that I plan on upholding these standards of ASCSU by well, through my work to
I think that your Zoom is glitching. So think about your answer and figure out how to move to a better place. I think you said you were moving, and we'll move on to the next person and come back to you. So David, you're next.
Okay, so I feel that these are principles of ASCSU that are very important because CSU is a very diverse community, and therefore holding up diversity and inclusion is something that I have maintained throughout my time on AppFab. And it's really about working with everybody and making sure that everybody has a better voice than they would be traditionally allotted. It's about making sure that everybody gets a fair and equal shot at expressing their opinion and helping to govern the board.
Thank you, Jorge.
So one thing I truly agree with what David was saying, that planning to include diversity and inclusion, especially as a deputy director of state and law, it's important to like listen to everyone because everyone does truly have a voice. So before making any decisions, listening to what everyone has to say is an important key, and like one of the things that I hold to the bottom of my heart to hold like diversity and inclusion is just listening to others before making a decision.
Kylie?
Hi. Yeah, diversity, equity, and inclusion are three pillars that are extremely important to me, and I hope that that shows in all the work I do through ASCSU. I think this year this showed particularly when I created the marketing video for the CSU Health Network. We were attempting to specifically showcase resources for historically marginalized students, and I think we all found ourselves at times, and it's very probable in these roles that you try to proceed with an idea that you have a passion about without going through the necessary checkpoints and checking with all the S's and talking with people of different identities. So that's something I really hope to continue with this year, trying to communicate with as many people as different identities and making sure and that I'm advocating for equality in the healthcare industry.
Ted?
Yeah, so in my role, I feel that for promoting diversity, equity, and inclusion, it's really important for me that when I'm speaking with businesses that want to work with CSU, I'm trying to find opportunities for students that are just for honestly just like the general student population. I've already talked with somebody who wants to promote dance marathons, and those are not only for singularly abled people, but for any kind of abled, any kind of differently abled, just to some philanthropic work, just for promoting awareness and help in any way possible, as well as there's other businesses that are just trying to help promote students who have a lack of income in their lives, and they're trying to support them in order to feel that they are welcome and able to apply and be in colleges and feel that they are recognized and well included. I feel that it's really important that I do talk with businesses that have that kind of wide variety of inclusion that is available to everybody. And I'll always try my best to just keep an eye out, just thinking about all the students' needs and those who are, just not looked at as much as the general population is.
Nikhil?
Yeah. Hello. Yes, I feel like the principles of community are really important to be, sustained at CSU. For the matter of fact, at any place. So I have, strived in, empowering those by, acting as a liaison, for advancing equity and diversity by being affiliated with the Office of National Programs in the past, for all the students, that are surrounded around us. And I plan on doing the same by creating a safe and sound environment without any kind of bias for all kinds of, people, for all the students, for all the domestic and international students, and, provide them with the resources for growth, expansion, and exposure. So yeah.
Olivia?
I believe one of my favorite things is that I was able to work for the Center for Diversity and Inclusion at Ames Community College, and it allowed me to see the different identities that people can hold. Like it's literally a spectrum, and I would like to continue that lens. When talking to different students, I'm a very curious person. As far as people's backgrounds, and I would like to get to know people for more than just who they are like a surface level. And I really want to make sure that everyone is heard, no matter where they come from or what their identity is.
Alejandra?
I think being a part of social media and kind of like that influencer type of vibe is going to be like a big role in promoting diversity, equity, and inclusion, especially at CSU. I think in my role, a big part of that will be making sure that all students are represented fairly and equally in the posts that are created specifically for ASCSU social media, as well as reaching out to like various SDPS offices about how they would like to be involved, how they would like to be recognized, ways that we can kind of like highlight and showcase those different offices across campus. So I think that work in multimedia and marketing would be like has the potential to have a really big impact in diversity, equity, and inclusion. And kind of like Kylie mentioned, when we were working on that multicultural counseling resource video, we did put a lot of effort and thought into taking into account all different identities and how those identities may have like intersectionality within them. So yeah.
Omar, are you back in a place where you could go?
All right. I would like to apologize for what happened there. Sorry, I had a problem with my microphone. So for me, diversity and inclusion are basically two things which complete each other. And I think it already, in the CSU community, diversity and inclusion is very important. And I think that without any of the two, they can't really work. And I think if diversity and inclusion exists, well, equity will also exist. And sustaining that in the CSU community is very important because it will allow people to express their opinions, and that will help us improve the CSU community.
Okay, I want to check that I didn't miss anyone before I move on to my next question. Cool. Okay. It's your job to represent all identities, not just those that you hold. How do you intend to ensure that you're doing this? Colin?
Hi. Could you repeat the first part of that question again?
It's your job to represent all identities, not just those that you hold. How do you intend to ensure that you're doing this?
Well, I think largely I think both me and my peers holding each other accountable to really make sure that we're including a lot of different aspects of things, lots of different types of people. I guess more diversity, more walks of life than what we're just used to. I think in my work, definitely like using that in a lot of like promotional material, not promotional material, but like graphic design work and putting more stuff in there, just doing it pretty good.
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
Yes. It's your job to represent all identities, not just those that you hold. How do you intend to ensure that you're doing this?
Well, I intend to ensure that I'm doing this through like inquiring or seeing what students think on campus. But like, it's important that the people that we consider for these questions have different backgrounds, and that's very important because with different identity and basically, yeah, with different identity, we need different backgrounds. Not only international students, but also students in like US students or Americans are very diverse. And it's important that we look at different backgrounds when we're inquiring from students about things that we can allow us to have a good sustainability in CSU.
David?
So really, I think it all boils down to communication. So as a psychology major, I know that when you feel like you are being heard, you're more likely to join in and participate and actually become a part of a community, right? So to make sure that everybody is heard and that there is really good communication for everybody, not only groups that I'm a part of or friends are a part of, but for everybody. And I will try my best to reach out to everybody that I can. Thank you.
Okay.
So like you were saying, it's in like, how will I hold all identities, right? Was it the question?
It's your job to represent all identities, not just those that you hold. How do you intend to ensure that you are doing this?
Awesome. I believe that everyone has a voice, and over the years, I've realized that it's important to listen to everyone before making a decision. Like David was saying, it's important to really reach out outside of like your comfort zone or like people that you're close associated to, like Rob was saying earlier. Just so everyone is heard, so all identity or so everyone is heard, and every student has its own like voice.
You trailed off there. I just want to make sure that you're done before I move on to the next person.
Yes.
Ellie?
Yeah, so I want to acknowledge and recognize that I can't possibly understand everyone's unique backgrounds and identities and the struggles they go through and how they'd like to be supported. So my goal, should I be ratified, is to simply reach out and ask as many students of different backgrounds if my projects and how I'd like to move forward align with resources that they feel would support them. And I think just meeting with as many people as possible from the SDPS offices and from various clubs and organizations around campus, I can hopefully present resources to the student body that are supportive of everyone, regardless of their identities and backgrounds.
Ted?
Yeah, so my position specifically, I think the best way that I can represent identities that are not only on my own kind of necessitate is like a necessity for me to get like a diversity of different businesses that can come onto campus and have like a bunch of different backgrounds and I don't know, whatever their business is. And whenever they hold these events, I want to make sure that that it's clear that if what their goal is accessible for all students, making sure that I amplify these opportunities to all SDPS offices and all types of colleges, and any kind of, and like most of the student population as best as I can. Not to mention there is a section on the website where I can get people to outreach to me. So when I do amplify these opportunities for different students, I hope that survey is in there as well. So that way I can hear back from students about what they would like to see me for opportunities that they want to see as well. Just trying to get the narrative of what students truly want to see when they want opportunities provided by them through myself. So yeah.
Thank you, Ted. Before we move on to Akil, we have about 15 minutes remaining on the clock. Of course, we can extend it if we need to, but we're at the 15-minute mark currently.
Mr. Speaker, I motion to extend it by an hour. I fully don't expect to use that much time, but that way we don't have to extend again.
Okay. I have no problem extending it would that be an extra hour or adding 45 minutes to make that an hour for clarification, Charity?
An extra hour.
An extra hour. Okay. Is there any dissent to that? I don't think there will be, but I'll go ahead and ask. So we don't have to open discussion and debate on it, and it could just be done. Okay, seeing none, we are now adding an hour and 14 minutes to the clock, and Akil, you go ahead and answer the question.
Yes, sure. Yeah. So, how I plan on representing the identities is by working to ensure that the voices are heard, from all kinds of communities at CSU, from all kinds of student communities, and I think this can be done through creation of, say, collaborative programs and focus groups in order to reach out to people and, get to know their best interests and how they want to be heard and be represented at CSU. So I think this can be done through, innovative initiatives and by, bringing about a change. And, this can be done without, like say, considering anyone's background. This can be done in an unbiased way, and this should be, done by reaching out to all the people, in an equal manner. And yeah, that is how I plan on, representing all the individuals, irrespective of their background.
Olivia?
I would just like to reference what President Long said about reaching out to more than just your circle of friends. When I transitioned here, I transitioned as a transfer student, so I currently don't really belong to any circle of friends. So given this opportunity, it's going to be a challenge for myself, a very great challenge, to speak to everyone, not just to only let them become aware of the ASCSU, but to make sure that they are being supported in their academic journey. And, I will utilize a lot of my experience in tabling events and striking up conversations with pedestrians around campus, just not being afraid to just seeing how people are. That way they know that there is a presence as far as ASCSU.
Alejandra?
If my dog starts barking, I apologize. So I feel like a big thing for me is educating myself and educating those around me as well. I think a big step in like learning more about varying identities and other people, as well as like those identities that I don't hold, is all about learning about how those identities shape people. I'm currently minoring in ethnic studies, and a lot of the work that we do is surrounding kind of that like education piece. But I'm just going to go ahead and second what everyone else has said about reaching out to other folks and really just listening to them and providing like a safe space for them to share their opinions.
Okay, next question. How are you going to recognize your inherent biases? Colin?
Well, it's an interesting question. I confess I'm not the best public speaker, but I think if I had to answer that question, I'd say I'd rely a lot on the people around me to call me out on stuff when I do things wrong, and have the self-integrity to learn and grow from that. Kind of noticing things I do wrong and trying to work on that. And I think that's a good goal just in life in general too. You know, self-improvement is always good.
Sorry, can you repeat the question? I didn't. Yeah.
How are you going to recognize your inherent biases?
Sorry?
How are you going to recognize your inherent biases?
Oh, well, it's really important to actually recognize this. I do admit it is complicated, but normally you can recognize it through people's reaction to what you say or people's reaction around you. And even if if you don't manage to if I don't manage to see it in people's reaction, I normally go back and think about people's perspective of what I said and what I do, their perspective of how they see it from their perspective, basically, and I can hopefully determine what I'm doing wrong.
David?
Hi there. I just want to preface this question with the fact that I am going to be running out of cell service here in a couple minutes. So it would be best if I could get any last questions off, because I will be unable to attend this meeting in a couple minutes. So my inherent biases, yes, everyone has them. And it's best to overcome them, I believe, by making sure that you have checks and balances, people who will let you know when they're happening. And it's also very important to recognize what they are and try to make sure that they aren't affecting your everyday life. I mean, I've had to write papers about this, and everybody has little biases against everything. And as long as they're looking out for them, you can usually catch them. And that's something that I'll be actively doing. I'll be actively looking out for any little biases or big ones that are somehow affecting the way that I'm working.
Thanks. Okay, since you say that you need to leave, Mr. Speaker, I would like to motion to remove David from the slate so we can finish him now and get him sworn in, and then we can move back into the rest of the group. I motion for unanimous consent.
There's been a motion for unanimous consent to remove candidate David Wise from the slate so that he could essentially be expedited and ratified before he has to leave. Is there any dissent to that motion?
Nay.
So Senator Nguyen, to clarify, was that a statement that you dissent to that motion?
Yes, I do, Speaker DeSalvo.
Okay. So then I would entertain a motion to remove the candidate from the slate. And then, of course, we do that by a placard vote. So does that motion exist?
Really quickly, the purpose of removing him from the slate, he'll still go through all the same questioning process. It just gets him done first so that he can leave.
Actually, Speaker De Silva, I motion to reverse my action and just follow Chair Athey's request. I yield.
Okay, thank you, Senator Nguyen. So seeing that there was no dissent to that motion, candidate Wise is removed from the slate. And I guess therefore procedurally we enter into a 20-minute period of discussion and debate on this candidate. So David, what I'm gonna
I have one more question that's specific to David Weiss.
Oh, okay. So candidate Wise, you'll answer that last question, and then things will go a little faster from there. So if you could, for clarification, Chair Athey, do you want him to continue with the question that he was already answering, and you have another additional question on top of that?
I believe that he finished answering the previous question, and then I have one further question. And then if anyone else has questions, they could ask him those also.
Okay.
Before we move to
Okay. So, Chair Athey, I'd give the floor back to you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Okay. The Deputy Director of Finance runs the travel grant. What experience do you have in aiding those in need of funding with particular emphasis on equity to marginalized identities?
So this is actually perfect for me because my time on AtFab, that's really a major part of what AtFab does. Is it makes sure to provide transportation to those who can't afford to have a car or choose not to have a car. And it makes it so it's easier to not have a car around the CSU campus, such as implement or putting in covered bike bus stop shelters, coverings for bikes shelters, and adding in new trails so it's easier for some students who can't afford housing closer to campus to actually get to campus easier. And I mean, I would just make sure to continue doing that and ensuring that everybody, well, that the way that money is spent is to the most equitable extent that it can be. Thank you.
Thanks. I yield, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Chair Athey. Are there any questions for candidate Wise specifically? And we'll start with the first raised hand on Zoom. Seeing none, we'll now enter a 20-minute period of discussion and debate on this candidate. Candidate Wise, I'm going to move you into a breakout room.
Yeah, would it be possible for me to leave and then come back because I'm about to run out of data? Would that be possible?
Yeah.
Or...
So just for my understanding, there's going to be like a small period of time where you can't be here, and
Okay.
then you'll be able to rejoin. Is that what I understand later on?
Yeah, I was thinking
There it goes.
Right. Okay.
There's
So
debating.
Okay,
because
so I can, David, if you want to leave, you can. I can, whatever the decision might be, I can just call David and let him know if that's appropriate.
Okay. The only reason I asked is because this candidate would still have to be sworn in. So I guess with that, we could just continue on with the rest of the candidates in David's absence, since there were no other questions for David specifically.
Is it possible that David could take the oath of office over a phone call?
I don't know how you.
I mean, just hold the phone up to the microphone and take the oath of office. That way you can leave and we can just get it done. But
And Mr. Speaker,
Yes.
to avoid any additional time, I don't know how far into the cell drought bubble that David is in, but could I make a motion to previous question so we can just go straight to voting if we can get him on the phone?
Yep, there's been a motion to previous question. Is there a second for that motion?
Second.
It's been seconded. Is there, okay, so all those in favor of going to previous question, say aye. Those opposed? Abstentions. Okay, so since we're doing this on Zoom, what I'll ask for is like the thumbs up, just because like we can't hear everyone and it's hard to tell. So those in favor of moving to previous question, either raise your hand or do the thumbs up emote. Okay, so that's 1, 2.
During Bruce, you don't get a vote.
Yeah, neither do you, Speaker Pro Tempore. 1, 2, 3.
Senators have it.
Okay. So we're moving to previous question and we're voting on this candidate. So if you would, I guess I would entertain a motion for you to approve this candidate with unanimous consent.
Make that motion, Mr. Speaker.
Okay, so there's been a motion to approve this candidate by unanimous consent. Is there any dissent to that motion? Great. So David Wise is now the Deputy Director of Finance. When he gets back on, he could either be sworn in with everyone else if he has service by that time, or I guess at any time we could phone him and he could take the oath of office then.
I have him on the phone.
Oh, he's on the phone? Okay. So if the Chief Justice can give David Wise the oath of office, please.
I state your name.
I, David Wise,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
to defend and uphold
to defend and uphold
the rules and regulations
the rules and regulations
set forth by the Constitution
set forth by the Constitution
of the Associated Students of Colorado State University,
for the Associated Students of Colorado State University,
and will rightfully perform
and will rightfully perform
the duties of my office
the duties of my office
to the best of my ability.
Could you repeat that part?
To the best of my ability.
To the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, Sue.
Great. That was semi-unconventional, but we got it done. Congratulations. So I believe now we'll move on to Jorge for the question. I believe, Chair Athey, you were still asking the question. So if you could repeat that just for everyone down the line, that would be great.
Mr. Speaker, the question was, how are you going to recognize your inherent biases?
Yep. So one of the things is to identify. I believe that every day it's important to like reflect and talk to other people about like what you've done throughout the day, and that's why I think that communication is really important. So just reflecting and talking to others about what you're doing with the organization, especially as a deputy director of like law and state and policy, it's really important to like get everyone's perspective. So not only there's bias happens on a regular basis, especially like with everyone, so just recognizing, communicating, and talking to others is like important to do.
Kylie?
Yes, I want to recognize that I think recognition is truly the first step to, admitting that we all have inherent biases. And I think that's the first step to learning about our biases and overcoming them. I think the structure of ASCSU is really unique in that it's set up to ensure collaboration. So we all have within the executive department, we all have our own departments. So I hope to, bounce ideas off of people within my own department, as well as individuals that I may be collaborating with around campus, just to make sure that my inherent biases don't show through in my ideas that I present. I also think it's important to maintain an attitude where I'm open to learning and hearing from others who may hold identities different from my own, and working on not being defensive should someone bring a critique or criticism to my attention.
Ted?
Yeah, so to recognize my own inherent bias when representing students, when talking to different businesses, I think that it's important to recognize whenever I'm talking to somebody about what their business is if I find it personally uninteresting to myself, that is an inherent bias that is put into effect. So I think it's important that I continue to learn more and more about what they enjoy doing, and then just try to figure out what kind of college or organization or any kind of group would seem some interest in that, reach out to the to whatever person would be good to that. So for example, like an advisor for said college, asking if this would be a good opportunity for them. Just trying to make sure that even though I wouldn't be interested in personally, and even if I may think that students wouldn't be able to find an interest in that, that I'd make sure that I take that extra step to make sure that it is something that is confirmed or denies my own opinion. So that way I can make sure that I move with as equal of an eye as possible when moving forward with my position, or trying to make more connections and trying to utilize those to make it accessible to all students.
Thank you.
Yes. So yeah, I plan on recognizing inherent biases, through focusing on people by seeing them as individuals rather than as a certain group of people, and sort of try to engage more say with people from different backgrounds and get to know more about them, rather than sticking to a single stereotype in defining a person. So that is how I plan on recognizing inherent biases, and also by acknowledging that I got their back. So yeah, that's how I plan on doing
that. Olivia?
I would like to think that I'm aware of my biases, but I'm still learning through my experiences, with interacting with different people. So I would like to rely on my peers, those around me that have more experience, especially in this setting of the ASCSU, to be able to point out my shortcomings so that I can learn from them, like as I'm still growing as an individual.
Alejandra?
I think it's important to acknowledge the fact that having implicit biases and having those shine through in the way that we speak to one another can sometimes be very harmful for specific groups. So I think trying to prevent implicit biases from affecting the way that we talk to each other is a big step. So for me personally, I always think about what I'm going to say before I'm going to say it, and how it might be received by other people. So I think it's really important to keep an open mind and think about how what you say may have an impact on others. So obviously acknowledging that everyone has implicit biases, taking those preventative actions against possibly harming someone through those implicit biases, and then also educating yourself once if those occurrences do happen. So I think it's like an ongoing process, but that's all.
Thanks. Okay, that's all of my questions for everyone. I have some more specific questions now. For Olivia, the Director of Academics, the Director of Academics is required to run building-wide audits on accessibility with the Director of Diversity and Inclusion, and to do other disability-related classroom improvements. What experience do you have with ECHO 360 and both the struggles and impact these accommodations have on disabled students around campus?
Well, I have had personal experience with my own a family member who was not able to walk for a long period of time, and I became very aware of the accessibility of different locations. And not only that, but through my work as a diversity peer specialist, I became even more aware of my ableism in many ways, whether it came to the ability to walk, see, hear. And I would like to, work with whoever I need to work with to make sure that everything is accessible, because education should be accessible to everyone, not just those that are able-bodied.
Thanks. Second question for you. The Director of Academic Relations works closely with the Colorado Student Government Coalition to improve access to open educational resources. Do you have any experience in these areas? And if not, what research have you done to prepare for the position?
Can you say that question one more time? I'm sorry, my dog was barking.
The Director of Academic Relations works closely with the Colorado Student Government Coalition to improve access to open educational resources. Do you have any experience in these areas? And if not, what research have you done to prepare for the position?
I do have experience with guiding students to, I believe it's the different academic resources on campus through my work as a peer coach at Ames. What I did was I became very knowledgeable with the different resources, not only, education-wise, but from financial aid to crisis management to anything like that. I like to become very knowledgeable on pretty much everything that the institution has to offer. Does that answer your question, or do you have any additional questions?
Yeah, that's it. Thank you. Moving on to the Business and Community Liaison, Ted. How do you plan to build a relationship with the Chamber of Commerce?
Yeah, so at these commerce meetings, what's really important is that you show up early, which I already plan on doing. I'm going to be showing up 15 to 20 minutes early because that time is actually set out for networking. So in that time, whenever people come into the room, I will be talking with them, learning about what their business is, talking to them about my own position. So that way I'll be getting to learn about more and more people, more and more businesses. They get to learn about me as well. And in that opportunity, we'll also be exchanging business cards. So I always have them them as a resource available to me. So yeah.
Okay, thank you. That's it for you, Ted. Moving on to Deputy Director of Basic Needs, Kelly Weiss. During their campaign, President Long and Vice President Sandoval had a focus on student mental health. What are some plans and initiatives you have to bring to the table in regards to mental health?
Yes, thank you for that question. I'm actually really excited that that was one of the pillars that Rob and Elijah ran on, because that is something that I'm very passionate about advocating for. As far as mental health initiatives I hope to roll out this year, I definitely would like to host a mental health tabling event again this year. That's something we did in the past, and it was really successful. We handed out a bunch of different resources, colorful cards that had resources on them, as well as we also had like a massage chair set up in the plaza during finals week. And I think little initiatives like this, showing students that they do have mental health resources available to them, are very important for the Department of Health. I would also like to focus on promoting the marketing video we made the last semester. That video, I feel very strongly, showcases a lot of our mental health resources provided by the CSU Health Network. I truly believe that we have a lot of incredible resources, incredible multicultural counselors, as well as online mental health resources. I think this semester it's really important to focus on getting the word out so that these resources are very accessible to all students on campus.
Thank you. That's all I had for you. Deputy Director of State Law and Policy, Jorge. This position has a particular, sorry, my words all over the place. Let me start over. This position has a particular requirement to know and learn the Americans with Disabilities Act Accessibility Code. How familiar are you with this document, and what are your plans to familiarize yourself with it?
Can you repeat that question, please?
Yes, sorry, my words went everywhere. Let me try again. This position has a particular requirement to know and learn the Americans with Disabilities Act, ADA, Accessibility Code. How familiar are you with this document, or what are your plans to familiarize yourself with it?
One of the things that like I focus on is continuing to learn. I am not familiar with this document, but after this Zoom meeting ends, I will be familiar with this document. So one of the things that I like to tell the people that I work around is that learning is key. And every single day that we wake up, we learn something new. So continuing to learn off of like, whether that be an interaction or a document brought up, or even just to have a conversation that someone else has provided, it's important. So I am not familiar to answer your question, but like I said, after this meeting, I will be familiar with that document, and those are the steps that I will be taking. And just I will also be communicating with other people that are already familiar with this document and giving their input on it as well.
Thank you. Okay, one more. The state law and policy position is dedicated to legal research. What experience do you have with legal research? I know this was kind of touched on in Rob's presentation, but could you expand upon that?
Yep. So one of the things that I do, I did found a club here at CSU, and one of the things that like I was in charge of was making my own constitution, document and other policies. So that would be just sitting down with my team and coming up with a constitution and what that really looked like and what other people wanted to see in the constitution. So that would be my my legal work that I have done over the last 6 months.
Thank you. That is all of the questions that I had. I yield. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Athey. Are there any additional questions for all of the candidates to answer? You could also ask individual questions. Chair Trout, you're recognized.
Hi, y'all. My apologies for my tardiness, just some last minute traffic. No fun. But I will specifically jump into my questions for all candidates. Let's see. My first, let's see. Hold on one second. I apologize, a little flustered. Just for clarification, are all the deputy directors on the comp ratification list? Are they all here?
Chair Trout, there was one that left and was already ratified and sworn in, and that would be David Wise. But other than him, everyone else has yet to be ratified.
Fantastic. Thank you, Chair. So I'm just going to go through one by one and ask all of y'all the same question. I will happily repeat if needed. Starting with Colin Hamlin. I apologize if I'm saying that wrong. Have you read the ASCSU Constitution, and how would you judge your understanding of that document?
Hi. So I do need to go back and look at that, but I can definitely be familiarized with it by the end of the day.
Okay, awesome. Same question to Omar Suleiman.
I read it once, but I think I need to actually go back and familiarize myself with it, because it's important to actually read it a few times just to get the main points embedded into my head. Yeah.
Okay, awesome.
Thank you.
George Garcia.
Yep. So I did read it, and I thought that it was really organized, especially for ASCSU document, which it had ratification, the body of the Senate, associated members, vacancies. It had ways to veto, emergency budget sessions. Like everything was, it was broken down to like the judicial branch, the executive branch. So I just thought I was really fascinating, and I was really proud of the ASCSU community, how they handled the document and how overall the document turned out, because I was really impressed.
Thank you. Kylie Weiss.
Yeah, so I was in ASCSU last year, so I have read the Constitution. I could definitely brush up on it again this semester though. And I think the document is really important for accountability in our roles and really seeing specifically what we are set out to do here in our individual roles and as a whole group in ASCSU.
Thank you. Akil?
Yeah. Yes, I have read the Constitution, once before, and although I need to go through it again, I think what it stands for is it encourages us as the leaders of ASCSU, to stand for what is right, and stand by the principles of community, at CSU. So yeah, I think that is what it encourages on, and it's got like lots of like the clauses and amendments. So yeah, I think it's really well organized and structured. So yeah, that's what's my opinion on it.
Awesome, thank you. Olivia?
I have not read the ASCSU Constitution, but I will become familiar with it.
Okay, awesome. And last but not least, Alejandra?
I skimmed it about a year ago when I was ratified for my other position, but I haven't gone through it since then. So I will also be looking at it again this year.
And Chair Trout, I believe you missed asking Ted that question.
Yeah, so I have skimmed through the ASCSU Constitution. I think my basic interpretation of it, with all of its different clauses and all that, is that it really is simply just an oath of duty to be to serve the students and make sure that you do not abuse the power that you have been given by the students and by the Senate when you are ratified. I think it's really important that everybody is checked on. That's the whole reason why we have the three different branches. I think the Constitution is very clear that we do need to actually do our jobs and be the best people to represent the students and give them the amazing opportunities that were given to us. So, yeah.
Awesome. Thank you all for that answer. Let me see. Again, for all candidates, how do you plan to balance work, ASCSU, and school? And this time I'll start in reverse order, starting with Alejandra.
I live my life on Google Calendar, so probably by doing that and just like allocating different times to different aspects of my life. I like to prioritize my social life and my friends, but I also like to prioritize school and the different jobs that I have. So just allocating enough time to each one of those things and ensuring that my mental health is also up to par with everything else. So yeah.
Awesome. Olivia?
I also use an electronic version to keep myself accountable, just to allocate my time. I also use a planner that color codes corresponding to what I'm doing. And I'm a big believer in compartmentalizing. I was told by a previous employer that once you cross through this threshold, this is where you're at, you're here, you're right now. And that's the same mentality that I have carried with me through every employment that I have had. And I have definitely attributed this to my time as a student as well.
Awesome, thank you. Akil?
Yeah, I plan on doing this by using the Outlook calendar, for starters, to sort out my meetings. And also I try to, plan out my schedule using proper time management, because I've done it in the past, by being part of several student body organizations. So yes, I plan on doing the same again. And also I tend to use strong prioritization to, schedule my tasks in timely manner and pay attention to whatever the task is, the most important first step, and then, prioritize accordingly. So that is how I plan on doing that.
Awesome. Ted?
Yeah, so I've already tried to schedule out my next semester, incorporating when I do have all the meetings with the Chamber of Commerce. I was also recommended and am going to make a Calendly so that way I can actually set up meetings with any businesses whenever possible. That always will fit into my time. And then whenever I have the week set out, that I can move around and make sure I always get my schoolwork done. I've always taken schoolwork first as a primary, and then after that, I'll always be prioritizing ASCSU responsibilities. So, yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, Kylie.
I really appreciate the flexibility of these jobs because I can schedule my meetings and anything else that I'm working on around my school schedule. So I think that'll be really, really helpful. And additionally, as someone working in the health department, I hope to prioritize taking care of my own mental health and compartmentalizing and setting aside time for things that fill me up, just so that I can lead by example in that way.
Okay, George.
So I do run on 3 different calendars, and I have already kind of been ahead of the curve and already have set up my classes. So ASCSU is my main priority, followed by my classes. So I do have a calendar for my personal stuff that I do have to get out of the way, my school stuff, and of course, meetings and other stuff I do have to go through. So just staying on top of that and staying on top of the game, because you're never, it's important to be rather early than late.
Awesome, thank you. Omar?
Well, for me, it's time management is actually one of the most important things, especially in university. And I think, of course, classes are my primary concern, but ACSU comes second. And that's really important because, for example, with meetings, I just use the Apple app of reminders, which actually automatically places meetings for me once I recognize a line to be a meeting. So that helps me with meetings. But besides that, to actually put some time for work, I always add to my university schedule a time frame on Tuesday and Thursday to be able to basically work on whatever I need to do for my position in ACSU. And I think that's important because it gives me a time frame and it forces me to actually work on what I need to do. Thank you.
Awesome, thank you. And last but certainly not least, Colin.
Yeah, so, well, I think the big thing, number one, organization is the key to success. I think for me, scheduling, getting things all organized, perfect thing to do. I think for me, a lot like Kylie, I'm really happy that ACSU really works a lot well with like CSU classes and schedules, and sort of makes things easier to balance and do, especially when you're in college. I also think that balancing personal life is important too, and fitting that in places is awesome too when I can. For me personally, school, work, those both come absolutely first when it comes to duties and responsibilities. And yeah, I look forward to seeing what I can do.
And
Awesome.
Chair Trout, before you continue, there are 33 minutes left on the Q&A clock.
Okay, I am almost done with my questions. And then my last question I have is specifically for the Deputy Director of Sustainability. What initiatives do you plan to bring? What initiatives do you plan on bringing to ASCSU to make CSU more environmentally sound?
Well, I've realized that actually there should be a more less pollutant way of using so basically if sorry, can you repeat the question? I think I misunderstood the question.
Yeah, of course, no worries. Give me just one sec. What initiatives do you plan on bringing to ASCSU to make CSU more environmentally sound?
Oh, well, in the Lower Student Center, there's of course the food court, and I've realized that most of the products used in well, those that area is actually not environmentally sustainable, and it does create a lot of well unrecyclable recyclable products, and it's important that we manage to change that to be able to have either products which can easily be recyclable or be used for other other means. And also something else I've realized, there are a lot of recycle bins, but they don't really get used, and I think it's important to make the community of CSU and students aware that it is important to carefully to carefully use these bins and actually care about putting plastic where it's supposed to be, and non-plastic products where in other trash bins. Yeah, that's it.
Awesome. Thank you all for your answers, and thank you all for your time coming into this emergency session. With that, speaker, I yield.
Thank you, Chair Trout. Are there any other points of Q&A? Seeing none, we'll move into a period of discussion and debate. So candidates, what I'm going to do is I'm going to place you in a breakout room. Of course, if you're in the room, if you could exit the room. So let me set up the breakout room right now.
You can't be in here while we're discussing. You gotta be in the hallway.
Cool. I thought you were saying just go others. Yeah. I'll grab you.
Okay. So if you are going to be ratified or hoping to be ratified today, if you could go ahead and join that breakout room. Okay, and I believe that's everyone. Just do one more look. Alrighty, so let me get the clock ready. And I will open 20 minutes of discussion and debate on all candidates, starting with the first raised hand.
I moved to previous question, Mr. Speaker.
Okay, there's been a motion to previous question. Is there a second?
Seconded.
Okay, all those in favor of moving to previous question, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed and abstentions. So I believe that was unanimous. So if that could be recorded. Okay. So we're out of the period of discussion and debate. So I would entertain a motion to approve all of these candidates with unanimous consent.
I make a motion to approve all candidates with unanimous consent.
Is there any dissent to that motion? Seeing none, all of these candidates will be ratified. And so if that could be recorded as well, that it was unanimous with all voting members. And I'll go ahead and get these folks out of the breakout room.
Rob, you're not supposed to tell him. You're just supposed to bring him back in.
Oh, Oh. Hello.
We're waiting for everyone to come back.
Oh.
Yeah, it's doing this thing where because I just closed the breakout room instead of moving everyone. And okay, so some people are joining back, but it'll automatically move them in like 20 seconds. So if we could have the Chief Justice just prepare to administer the oath of office. Okay, is everyone, I believe everyone's back.
21 people, yeah. Thumbs up, 21 people.
Okay, cool. So Chief Justice, if you could administer the oath of office, and everyone here, if you could unmute, and we'll just do it all at the same time.
It's going to sound a little bit bad, but trust me, you'll get through it, okay? I state your name.
I,
Olivia Cardenas,
Swear.
Do you solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
Solemnly swear
To defend and uphold
to defend and uphold
rules and regulations
rules
the
and
rules and
regulations
forth by the Constitution
set forth by the Constitution
by the Constitution
Forward by the Constitution
of the Associated Students of Colorado State University.
of the Associated
Students of Colorado State University.
of the Associate Students of Colorado State University.
And will rightfully perform.
And will rightfully
perform.
and will rightfully perform
The duties of my office.
the duties of
my office
To the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
of my ability.
Congratulations, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, everyone, congratulations. If you were a candidate that just got ratified, you can choose to leave this meeting or stay. We really don't have much left to go over in the agenda. President Long, do you have something?
I'd like to make a motion to add the fight song at the end of the agenda with unanimous consent.
There's been a motion with unanimous consent to add the fight song at the end of the agenda. Is there any dissent to that motion?
Dissent.
Okay, so that motion failed.
We have to enter a placard vote.
What was that, President Long?
We have to enter a placard vote.
Okay. So there was a motion to add the fight song to the end of the agenda. We'll do this by placard vote. So if you could comment in the chat, I think that might be the easiest. Yes, no, or abstention.
I believe that I can still vote on procedure, correct? Or no?
No, only voting members and associates are allowed to vote on this.
Yeah.
So it's ratified, you don't get.
Oh,
a
no
vote,
one
sorry.
seconded it. Hold up, wait. Point of order. No
Oh.
one seconded that.
Okay. Okay. So is there a second to add the fight song to the end of the agenda?
I motion for unanimous consent, so it doesn't need a second.
That just failed.
Right, but then we went to, it would have had to go to placard vote to continue on. And there was no additional motion.
Seconded.
Yes.
Thank you, Parliamentarian Burge. Okay.
You're welcome.
So there's been a motion and there has been a second to add the fight song to the end of the agenda. So we'll enter a period of placard vote. What we're going to do is we're going to say yes, no, or abstention in the chat. So if you are a senator, you're allowed to vote on this. A senator or associate senator, since it's procedural.
Okay, that's 4. You lose. Sorry.
Yeah, by a vote of 5 no's. I don't even see a yes here. So yeah, that motion fails. Sorry, President Long. Perhaps when we're in person, we'll be more apt to bust into the fight song. So with that said, I guess we'll go to the Constitution Caucus report. Mr. Clark, if you would like to give that report, you can at this time.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, Senate. This report is going to be brief. Constitution Caucus did not meet last Thursday due to a lack of members. That's totally okay. That was finals week. But we're probably going to transition now into infrequent meetings over the summer. For those of y'all who do not know about the Constitution Caucus, we basically seek to deliberate and brainstorm on ways to add new amendments, productive, efficient amendments to the Constitution to make our organization better. In recent news, we recently elected our new vice chair, which is Speaker Pro Tempore Kimberly Cardacedo Perez. And then we also, pending bylaws changes, are going to introduce a secretary position to our caucus. And we are hoping to appoint Chair Trout to that position as well. And so that'll happen hopefully during our next meeting, which is TBA. Also wanted to take this time during my report to just let everybody here in the space know that we've been creating a ASCSU Slack software communication system for interbranch communications. You can visit or join through that Slack at, let's see here, it's bit.ly/ASCSU Slack. I've also just added that to the comments as well. Everyone who's just ratified tonight into the executive branch, feel free to join that space as well. There are channels open for the executive branch. Feel free to create channels that are dedicated to your own projects as well. It's really a versatile system that's used for multiple projects and other things like that. But other than that, I think that's all that I have to report. So with that, I yield the floor, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Chair Clark.
Internal affairs report.
Okay. Internal affairs. So that'll go under the Constitution.
He's not gonna hear me using.
Okay. So I guess we'll move on to Internal Affairs Committee report. Is the does the chair? Pardon?
A second and a 2/3 vote.
Oh, I apologize. So there's been a motion to add Internal Affairs Committee report to the agenda. Is there a second for that motion?
Seconded.
Okay. So this will be like placard vote again, but you'll just put in the chat yes or no. All those in favor of adding Internal Affairs Committee report to the agenda, say aye in the chat. Those opposed, say nay. And abstentions. Just put like ABS. So I'm only seeing 3 votes to add that. For clarification, for anyone in my legislative cabinet, how many voting members do we have present?
6, Mr. Speaker.
6. Okay. So that would be 3 out of 6. That doesn't meet the 2/3 threshold. So that motion fails. Oh, let me see.
Point of order, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Parliamentarian.
Were there any nays counted in that vote?
There weren't. There were just like no votes.
I would say then that would be well, just because it's 2/3 of all members who voted, I would suspect, rather than you would count those who didn't vote at all as an abstention rather than a no. Correct. And so it would be 100% out of, yeah, that at least is my interpretation. Y'all can do with that as you will.
Okay. Are there any other points of discussion on kind of what Chair Clark just said?
I would say that probably, I don't know, in my interpretation, the abstentions count as technically no vote. And so, but even if that is like, an abstention is still a vote, even though they didn't make a decision on their vote. So in that case, it would be half no decision and half yes, and then 0 no's. I don't know. To me, it makes sense to not add it to the agenda, but at the same time, I don't know. You can make that decision.
Chair Trout.
I know we've had this conversation before on whether abstentions count as no votes or not. I believe it was decided that abstentions are just not a part of that voting pool entirely. So if you abstain, you are not a yes or a no. You are not a part of that voting pool. You just you aren't there. Because I know we've had, say that again, Chair Athey.
I have a point of information about the Constitution. Can I interrupt you, Chair Trout?
You sure can. I yield to Chair Athey.
Okay, Chair Athey.
Section 207, Rules of the Senate, subsection 3, any vote of the ASCSU Senate shall be considered with present voting membership excluding abstentions. So that's a unanimous vote, technically.
Okay.
And then
so
I yield my thing back to the speaker.
Okay. So the motion passes. We'll make no change. Well, that change will be reflected in the agenda. So we'll add that before legislative officer reports. Parliamentarian Burge, if you could just fix the formatting on that, while the I believe it was Internal Affairs Committee Chair that wanted to report. Is that correct?
Point of information. I believe, this isn't relevant to tonight, but I believe there's been a great misstep in our legislative process, because in the removal of a former speaker this past semester, abstentions were counted in the final vote on whether or not that former speaker should be removed from the floor. So I believe that.
Wouldn't that have made it be more people voted for him to get removed?
Say it again.
Wouldn't that mean that more people have voted for him to get removed because abstentions wouldn't have counted? That still passed.
But abstentions were counted, though.
Yeah, but the same outcome would have happened.
Yeah, I'm just saying. I just wanted to point out like a misstep that happened in the past, and I think it's important to decide on. And I guess we pointed it out in the Constitution, but just for people that are returning as senators, that happened.
Okay, thank you, President Long. If going forward, if we could not interrupt other members while they're making points of information or something of that nature, that would be greatly appreciated. Chair Trout, do you have something?
Yeah, just really quick. I believe it was after the vote of confidence vote is when we had to figure out in terms of what the abstentions meant. So I would argue we did deal with that misstep later on, just to put that information out there. I don't want to drag this on any longer than it already has, but just throwing that out there. I yield.
Thank you. Are there any other points before we move on? Chair Clark.
Yeah, I also just second with Chair Trout's opinion that I do not want to drag this out longer than it has to be. Just referencing the most recent Supreme Court opinion 5103, that the court did decide that we cannot count abstentions in the total of any of our votes. And if the abstention causes there to be no quorum within the Senate, a vote would need to be taking place at the next Senate meeting. And so that's all for what I have to say. I yield.
Thank you. Is there anything else before we move on? Seeing none, we'll move to Internal Affairs Committee report.
Okay, I just want to quickly say, please join the Internal Affairs Slack because we are going to meet once at some point over the summer before we come back in August so that we can look at the bylaws because they will be passed in that first session coming back in fall. And so if you want to be involved in that, please join the Slack so that you can be involved in deciding what time we're meeting. Thanks, I yield.
Okay, moving on, we'll go to legislative officer reports, starting with the Speaker Pro Tempore.
So 1 second. Sorry. Speaker just often put me on the spot like that, guys. Anyway, hey y'all. I'm so excited to be giving you my first unofficial legislative report of the year. Woohoo. I'm going to be keeping this short and sweet since I know that we're taking up precious summertime. Keep an eye out for a Google form that I will be sending out to specifically senators and associate senators to get a rough idea of how I can schedule you all for bi-weekly meetings with me. If you need anything from me, I'd ask for you to come. I'm going to try and move us slightly off of the I'm trying to condense down.
Speaker Pro Tempore Cadaceto Perez, you're kind of going in and out and breaking up.
What's the last thing you guys heard from me?
It's hard to tell because it was kind of going in and out
Oh,
the entire
no.
time. I apologize.
I'll just send it to you and then you can read it. If that's okay with you.
Yeah, that's fine. We'll move on to Parliamentarian Burge then.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here on this late Wednesday summer night to have this emergency session. I want to just thank you all for your patience with me as I get used to this new position. I'm not too familiar with everything just yet. It's kind of a new type of position for me, and so thank you for your patience. I'm really excited to be working on a lot of the organizational stuff that we have behind the scenes. Kevin Clark has been absolutely terrific in helping me get set up and get the ball rolling. So if you have anything document wise that we will be using in the first meeting, maybe just give me a heads up just so everything is clear about what will be there. Otherwise, have a great summer and thanks for being here.
Thank you, Parliamentarian Burge. Seeing that Officer Bukhari is not present with us, I guess I'll do my report and then whatever the Speaker Pro Tempore sends me, I'll read that after my report. Basically, kind of the same stuff that President Long had said last Wednesday. Me, him, and Vice President Sandoval all met with the Vice President of Student Affairs, Blanche Hughes. It was kind of an introductory meeting, got to know her a little bit, and we'll be working with her as well as the rest of the administration, the three of us, throughout the course of next year. So it was a really important meeting to kind of get a good foundation for that working relationship that we have with administration. tomorrow, a select few of us will be going up to the state capitol, and even a more select few of us will be having lunch with Governor Polis, and it's about 25 of us across the state of Colorado from institutions. And so I think that's going to be an important moment to ask about various things that are not only affecting students, but affecting the Fort Collins community at large. If there's time, I plan on asking about housing security and affordability, and really pressing him and asking him if he'd endorse or support a bill at the state legislature that would cap occupancy limits at least one person per bedroom in order to kind of solve the U+2 problem if the city of Fort Collins doesn't act any further on that. Additionally, just thank you all for being here. Thank you, taking time out of your summer, which I'm sure is a lot more interesting than sitting in front of a camera on a Zoom meeting. But I believe once next semester we get into the chambers and we start really digging into the legislation, it'll be a lot more fun. So if you're new here, which most of you are, myself included, I guarantee you there's more to this than what meets the eye as far as what's been going on currently. So now I'll read the Speaker Pro Tempore's report. She says, "Hey y'all, I'm so excited to be giving you my first legislative report of the year. I'm going to be keeping this short and sweet since I know we're taking precious summertime. Keep an eye out for a Google form that I'll be sending out to get a rough idea of how I can schedule you all for bi-weekly meetings with me. If you need anything from me, please feel free to contact me on GroupMe or on Slack. And additionally, thank you all for giving me grace. I was a very outspoken senator, and I'm taking some time to get comfortable in my new role." So that's all that we have for you today. So with that, we'll move into senator and associate senator reports. Are there any senators or associate senators who wish to report at this time? Seeing none, we'll move into ending roll call. I don't believe that anyone had left. I could be wrong.
We definitely had someone come in though.
Right. So with that, we'll move into our ending roll call.
I'm sorry, Cherothy, what was your question?
It wasn't a question, it was a statement that though no one left, we definitely had members join since roll call.
For the present members, which is 6, that's including the 2 that were ratified today. So I believe that everyone is here that was here during roll call.
Right, but I think the point that Chair AV is making is that additional members join, like Chair Trout, who I don't believe was here when the initial roll call was called.
Correct.
So we'd need an attendance sheet that reflects the folks that joined as well.
Mr. Speaker, if you'd like me to call closing roll, I have the members list in front of me.
Yes, please, Parliamentarian Burge.
All right. Senator Abdinabi. Chair Athey.
Here.
Officer Bukhari. Parliamentarian Burge, here. Speaker Pro Tempore Caracero Perez.
Here.
Speaker of the Senate DeSalvo.
Here.
Senator Gazer. Senator Gabriel. Senator Morgan. Senator Nguyen. Senator Pereira, Senator Ritter, Senator Sanchez, Senator Oker,
Here.
Senator Reese, Senator Rencher, Chair Trout,
Present.
Senator Melka. If there are any senators or associate senators who I have not yet called, please raise your placard. Okay. Can we make it known that Senator Lowe is here?
Point of information, so is Alicia Barron.
Did you hear that, Parliamentarian Burge?
I did not.
So Senator Lowe and Senator Barron are here.
Okay.
Cool. And with that, we will adjourn. Thank you all for coming.